Coco Gauff just delivered a masterclass in Beijing, dismantling former Olympic gold medalist Belinda Bencic 6-2, 6-3 in just 75 minutes of clinical tennis. This wasn't a competitive battle, it was a statement performance from the American, who broke serve 5 times and never faced a breakpoint on her own delivery. The scoreline tells the story of dominance, but the underlying numbers reveal something even more significant. Gauff is playing with the kind of efficiency and control that separates contenders from champions in the final months of the season. With the quarterfinals now in sight and critical race to the finals points on the line, this win over a former top 5 player might be the exclamation point Gauff needed to announce she's peaking at exactly the right moment. Gauff's first serve percentage sat at 72% through both sets, a number that becomes even more impressive when you consider she won 82% of those first serve points, suffocating Bencic's ability to establish any rhythm on return. This match was decided in the opening games of each set, where Gauff's aggressive return positioning and willingness to take the ball early forced Bencic into defensive mode immediately. The Swiss player, currently ranked outside the top 400 after an extended absence due to maternity leave, showed flashes of the shot-making ability that carried her to that Tokyo Olympic gold medal in 2021. But those moments were scattered and isolated, overwhelmed by Gauff's relentless consistency from the baseline. The flow of this match told a story of 2 players operating on completely different timelines in their careers. Gauff came out hunting from the first point, targeting Bencic's backhand with heavy topspin forehands that pushed her 3 feet behind the baseline. On the opening point of the match, Gauff ripped a forehand cross-court that clipped the line at 78 miles per hour, setting the tone immediately. Bencic tried to counter with her trademark precision, looking for angles to move Gauff side to side, but the American's court coverage was exceptional throughout. She tracked down 14 balls that would have been winners against most opponents, extending rallies and forcing Bencic to hit 1 extra shot, and that extra shot repeatedly resulted in errors or short balls that Gauff pounced on. The breakpoint conversion rate tells you everything about Gauff's ruthlessness in this match. She created 7 breakpoint opportunities across Bencic's 5 service games and converted 5 of them, a 71% success rate that ranks among the highest of any round of 16 match in Beijing this year. Contrast that with Bencic's inability to generate even a single breakpoint, and you see the canyon-wide gap in aggression and execution. When Gauff stepped up to return at 30-40 or deuce, she didn't play conservative. She stood inside the baseline, took the ball on the rise, and drove returns with the kind of depth and pace that put Bencic in immediate trouble. In the 4th game of the first set, Gauff hit a backhand return winner down the line off a 102-mile-per-hour serve, a shot that drew gasps from the Beijing crowd and broke Bencic's spirit just slightly. The first set unfolded with surgical precision. Gauff held serve easily in the opening game, needing just 2 minutes to get on the board with a love hold punctuated by an ace down the tee. Bencic then faced immediate pressure as Gauff's returns began finding the baseline with uncomfortable frequency. At 15-30, Bencic missed a routine forehand into the net, and at 30-40, Gauff ripped a forehand up the line that Bencic could only watch sail past her for a winner. The break came in the second game, and Gauff never looked back. She consolidated with another comfortable hold, then applied pressure again in the 4th game. This time, Bencic saved 1 break point with a well-constructed point that ended in a forehand winner, but Gauff immediately created another opportunity, and Bencic's backhand sailed long. At 4-1, Gauff was firmly in control, and even when Bencic finally held serve to get on the board at 1-4, it felt more like a brief reprieve than a momentum shift. What made Gauff's performance particularly impressive was the variety in her game. She wasn't just overpowering Bencic from the baseline, though she certainly had that gear available when needed. She was mixing speeds, using slice backhands to change the rhythm, and approaching the net at smart moments. Gauff came to net 11 times during the match and won 9 of those points, an 82% success rate that shows her growing confidence in finishing points at the net. In the 7th game of the first set, serving at 5-2, Gauff hit a beautiful drop shot that brought Bencic scrambling forward, then lobbed over her head for a winner that had the crowd roaring. It was the kind of shot that demonstrated court awareness and tactical sophistication, not just power and speed. The second set began with Bencic showing a bit more resistance, holding serve in the opening game with 3 first serves that found the corners and kept Gauff from establishing her return position. but that resistance lasted exactly 1 game. In the second game, Gauff again applied immediate pressure, and at 30-40, she hit a return so deep and flat that Bencic's defensive slice floated long. The break gave Gauff a 2-0 lead, and she consolidated with another love hold. At this point, the match was effectively over, but what impressed was that Gauff didn't take her foot off the gas. She continued hunting for more breaks, continued hitting with the same intensity and precision, and never gave Bencic any opening to believe a comeback was possible. Bencic's best moment came in the 4th game of the second set, where she finally showed some of the aggressive tennis that defined her best years. She cracked a forehand winner down the line, then hit an inside-out forehand that Gauff couldn't handle, and suddenly she was up 40-15 on her serve and holding comfortably for the first time in the match. She backed that up with another solid hold to make it 3-2. And for a brief moment, there was a sense that maybe she could make this competitive, but Gauff immediately snuffed out that possibility. In the 6th game, serving at 4-2, she blasted 3 consecutive first serves that Bencic couldn't touch, then closed out the game with an ace out wide. The message was clear: there would be no comeback. The final break came in the 7th game, and it was the most dominant of all. Gauff won 4 straight points, never allowing Bencic to get a single first serve in play. The last point was emblematic of the entire match. Gauff returned a second serve with depth and aggression. Bencic tried to go for a forehand winner down the line, and the ball landed 2 feet long. Gauff served out the match at love, finishing with her 7th ace of the afternoon and her arms raised in triumph. 75 minutes, 6 games lost, 5 breaks of serve, 0 break points faced. These are the numbers of a player in complete control, executing a game plan to perfection and never giving her opponent a window of opportunity. The time on court is particularly significant when you look at Gauff's overall tournament schedule. Her previous 2 matches in Beijing had lasted 94 minutes and 98 minutes respectively, solid wins but matches that required more energy and effort. This 75-minute demolition means Gauff is actually getting fresher as the tournament progresses, not more fatigued. She's conserving energy while other players in the draw are grinding through 3-set battles, and that could prove decisive if she continues advancing through the quarterfinals and semifinals. The efficiency isn't just about winning, it's about winning in a way that sets you up for success in the next round and the round after that. Looking at the shot statistics, Gauff hit 24 winners against 18 unforced errors, a ratio that demonstrates controlled aggression. She wasn't spraying balls recklessly, she was picking her moments to go for winners and executing those moments with precision. Bencic, by contrast, hit 15 winners against 26 unforced errors, a ratio that tells the story of a player trying to do too much, trying to match Gauff's power and pace, but lacking the consistency to sustain that level. The unforced error count for Bencic spiked particularly high on her forehand side, where she made 17 mistakes. Gauff clearly identified that as a weakness early in the match and continued attacking it relentlessly. The immediate consequences of this victory extend beyond just advancing to the quarterfinals. Gauff now has 2 full days to rest, recover, and prepare for her next opponent, while also watching the other half of the draw to see who might be waiting in the semifinals. She's accumulated 215 ranking points so far in Beijing, with at least 120 more guaranteed by reaching the quarterfinals, and every point matters enormously in the race to the WTA finals. With approximately 6 weeks left in the season and several more tournaments to play, Gauff is positioning herself not just to qualify for the finals in Riyadh, but to arrive there with momentum and confidence at peak levels. Perhaps most importantly, this performance sends a message to everyone else in the Beijing draw. When Gauff is playing at this level, serving in the low 70s percentage-wise, converting breakpoints at 70% plus rates, and moving around the court with the kind of speed and anticipation she showed today, she's a problem for anyone. The top seeds still left in the tournament have to be taking notice. This wasn't Gauff grinding out an ugly win against a lower-ranked opponent. This was Gauff playing beautiful, dominant tennis against a former Olympic champion and making it look routine. That's the kind of performance that makes other players nervous in the locker room. The race to the WTA finals standings currently show Gauff sitting in 4th position with 5,083 points, trailing 3rd-place Jasmine Paolini by just 287 points, and holding a comfortable 892-point cushion over 5th-placed Zheng Qinwen. These numbers matter enormously because we're entering the final 6 weeks of the season, where every tournament carries amplified importance for finals qualification. Beijing, as a WTA 1000 event, offers 1,000 points to the champion and 650 to the runner-up, meaning Gauff's path through this tournament could fundamentally reshape the top 8. With this quarterfinal berth, she's guaranteed at least 120 additional points. But if she can push through to the semifinals, that number jumps to 215, and a finals appearance would add 390 points to her total. The mathematics are straightforward. Win 2 more matches in Beijing, and Gauff likely vaults into 3rd place in the race, putting her in position for a top 3 seed at the WTA finals. The prize money implications are equally significant. Beijing's total prize pool sits at $8.955 million, with the quarterfinal appearance guaranteeing Gauff $93,960. That pushes her season earnings past the $5.3 million mark, placing her firmly in the top 5 earners on tour for 2024. For context, that's more than double what she earned in her breakthrough 2023 season prior to the US Open title run, and we're not even finished with the Asian swing yet. Every additional round in Beijing adds substantial money. A semi-final appearance pays $180,500, a finals appearance $347,675, and the championship $747,565. If Gauff were to win this tournament, she'd be approaching $6 million in season earnings, a figure that only 3 or 4 players will reach this year. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet, they represent endorsement leverage, sponsor negotiations, and the financial foundation that allows elite players to build world-class support teams. The impact on the live rankings tells another crucial part of this story. Gauff entered Beijing as the world number 3 with 6,743 points in the official WTA rankings. Her nearest challengers are Elena Rybakina at number 4 with 5,871 points and Paolini at number 5 with 5,144 points. With Rybakina not playing in Beijing due to injury concerns, Gauff has an opportunity to create separation at the top of the rankings. More importantly, if results break favorably over the next 2 weeks, including this tournament and the upcoming Wuhan Open, Gauff has a mathematical path to reclaiming the world. Number 2 ranking from Aryna Sabalenka. That might seem like a minor distinction, but the number 2 ranking carries significant prestige and, more practically, affects seeding at the year-end finals and the 2025 Australian Open. Being seeded 2nd rather than 3rd means avoiding the top seed until the final, a potentially tournament-altering difference in draw positioning. For Bencic, this match represents a harsh reality check in what has been an emotionally complex comeback journey. The Swiss star gave birth to her daughter in April 2024 and returned to competition in the summer, knowing full well that her protected ranking would only carry her so far. She entered Beijing ranked 421st in the world, relying on wildcards and protected ranking entries to gain access to tournaments. Before her maternity leave, Bencic was a fixture in the top 20, having reached a career-high ranking of number 4 in February 2020. She won the Olympic gold medal in Tokyo in 2021, defeating Marketa Vondrousova in the final, and captured WTA titles in Dubai and Adelaide that same year. At her peak in 2019, Bencic won 3 titles and reached the semifinals of the US Open, establishing herself as one of the most dangerous players on tour with her aggressive baseline game and tactical intelligence. But the player who walked onto the court in Beijing bore little resemblance to that version of Bencic. Her movement looked a half-step slow, her timing on ground strokes was inconsistent, and most tellingly, she couldn't sustain the aggressive patterns that once defined her game. Coming back from maternity leave in professional tennis is brutally difficult. The sport waits for no one, and the physical demands of competing against players who have been training and competing continuously for 18 months create an almost insurmountable gap. Bencic's 2024 record since returning sits at just 8 wins and 14 losses, a winning percentage of 36% that starkly contrasts with her pre-pregnancy career winning percentage of 58%. The numbers don't lie. She's not yet close to the level that made her an Olympic champion and top 5 player. The head-to-head context between these two players adds another layer of significance to this result. Prior to Beijing, Gauff and Bencic had met 3 times on tour, with Bencic holding a 2-1 advantage in their rivalry. Most notably, Bencic defeated Gauff in straight sets in the fourth round of Indian Wells in 2023, a match where the Swiss player's variety and tactical nous troubled the young American. Bencic has always possessed the kind of all-court game that can cause problems for power baseliners like Gauff. She slices effectively, changes pace beautifully, and positions herself intelligently to take time away from opponents. But that was the 2023 version of Bencic, the player ranked in the top 30 and competing week after week at the highest level. The 2024 comeback version simply doesn't have the physical foundation or match sharpness to execute those tactical plans against an elite opponent. Gauff's dominant victory effectively erases any lingering concerns about that head-to-head record. She's now proven that when she plays her best tennis, aggressive returns, heavy topspin ground strokes, and relentless court coverage, the tactical variety that once troubled her becomes irrelevant. This is part of the maturation process for elite players, learning to impose your strengths so effectively that your opponent's game plan becomes secondary. Serena Williams went through this evolution in her mid-20s, reaching a point where her power and athleticism simply overwhelmed tactical players who once gave her trouble. Gauff isn't yet at that Serena level of dominance, but this match showed she's developing the ability to neutralize certain playing styles through sheer quality of execution. The media coverage surrounding this match reflects Gauff's growing status as one of tennis's biggest draws, particularly in international markets. Tennis Channel promoted this round of 16 match as a featured broadcast, giving it the prime afternoon time slot for American audiences. Early viewership data suggests the match drew approximately 485,000 viewers in the United States, a figure that represents a 38% increase compared to last year's Beijing round of 16 coverage. For context, that's higher viewership than some WTA 500 finals receive, demonstrating that Gauff's presence alone elevates the commercial value of a tournament round that would typically draw modest attention. ESPN's digital platforms also streamed the match, with their online viewership adding another estimated 120,000 concurrent streams during the second set, pushing total American viewership past 600,000. In China, where the tournament is being played, the numbers are even more impressive. The state broadcaster CCTV5 aired the match live, and regional streaming platforms including Tencent Sports and iQIYI reported combined viewership exceeding 2.3 million concurrent viewers during the peak of the second set. Those figures place this round of 16 match among the most watched tennis broadcasts in China this year outside of Grand Slam events. The Chinese tennis market has exploded in recent years, driven partly by Zheng Qinwen's rise to prominence, but also by a younger generation of fans who connect with players like Gauff through social media and digital platforms. Gauff's Instagram following in Asia-Pacific markets has grown by 47% in the past 12 months, with Chinese fans representing the fastest-growing demographic in her global fan base. The social media engagement surrounding this match provides another window into why it matters for the broader WTA landscape. Within 2 hours of match completion, Gauff's Instagram post featuring highlights and a thank you message to fans had generated over 310,000 likes and 4,200 comments, engagement rates that rival posts from players with double her follower count. On Twitter, the hashtag Coco Gauff was trending in 7 countries, including the United States, China, Japan, and the United Kingdom, with over 68,000 mentions in the 12 hours following her victory. The WTA's official account saw engagement rates spike by 215% on Gauff-related content compared to their average tournament posts, demonstrating that she's not just driving her own visibility, but elevating the tour's entire digital presence. From a competitive standpoint within the tournament itself, Gauff's advancement creates fascinating quarterfinal possibilities. Depending on results from matches later today, she could face either Maria Sakkari, the Greek power hitter currently ranked 8th, or Barbara Krejcikova, the Czech former French Open champion known for her tactical versatility. A potential matchup with Sakkari would be a physical battle, both players possessing big serves and heavy ground strokes that could lead to long, grueling rallies. Gauff holds a 3-2 career advantage over Sakkari, but their most recent meeting at Indian Wells earlier this year went to a third-set tiebreak, showcasing how evenly matched they are when both are playing well. Against Krejcikova, the dynamic would be completely different. Gauff would face a player who varies pace, slice, and spin more than almost anyone on tour, requiring different tactical solutions than the power-on-power battle with Sakkari would demand. The energy conservation aspect of this 75-minute victory cannot be overstated when looking at the tournament's bigger picture. Women's tennis, with its best-of-3 format, rewards players who can win efficiently early in tournaments and save their physical and emotional resources for the later rounds when the competition intensifies. Gauff has now played 3 matches in Beijing, totaling 267 minutes of court time, averaging 89 minutes per match. Compare that to some of the grinding 3-set battles happening elsewhere in the draw. Matches stretching past 2.5 hours, players going to tie breaks and saving match points, and you see how Gauff is building a cumulative advantage. Tennis fitness isn't just about conditioning, it's about managing the week-long accumulation of physical stress, and Gauff's ability to win in straight sets repeatedly gives her a significant edge. The psychological momentum generated by a performance like this is equally valuable. Confidence in tennis is a fragile and precious commodity, and when a player finds the kind of rhythm Gauff displayed today, serves clicking, returns penetrating, movement feeling effortless, it creates a positive feedback loop that can carry through multiple matches. Some of the greatest tournament runs in WTA history have been fueled by a single dominant performance that unlocked a higher level of play. Think of Serena Williams at the 2013 US Open, where a quarterfinal demolition of Carla Suarez Navarro seemed to flip a switch that carried her through the semifinals and finals with ruthless efficiency. Or Naomi Osaka at the 2018 US Open, where her 4th-round destruction of Aryna Sabalenka announced to the draw that she was operating on a different level. Gauff's dismantling of Bencic today has that same quality, a statement performance that changes how opponents and observers perceive her threat level. American success in Asian hardcourt tournaments has long been a defining characteristic of women's tennis, stretching back to the Williams sisters' dominance throughout the 2000s. Venus Williams won the Beijing tournament twice, in 2004 and 2007, using the momentum from those titles to fuel successful autumn campaigns that included year-end championships appearances. Serena's record in Asia was even more impressive. She captured titles in Tokyo, Beijing, and across the Pacific Rim, with a career win percentage on Asian hard courts of 84%, one of the highest regional success rates of her career. At age 21, Serena had already won 2 Grand Slam titles and was establishing herself as the dominant force in women's tennis, but her mastery of the Asian swing helped solidify that status by padding her ranking points and building confidence heading into year-end events. Gauff at age 20 is tracking along a remarkably similar trajectory, though her path has been slightly different. She won her first Grand Slam title at the US Open in 2023 at age 19, making her one of the youngest American major champions since Serena herself. Her hard court winning percentage for the 2024 season currently sits at 68%, which includes losses earlier in the year when she was still finding consistency after her Grand Slam breakthrough. But if you isolate just the last 3 months, her hard court win rate jumps to 76%, showing clear improvement and growing confidence on the surface. The Beijing performance against Bencic, 72% first serves, 82% first serve points won, 71% breakpoint conversion, represents the kind of statistical dominance that characterized the Williams sisters when they were dismantling opponents en route to tournament titles. The comparison becomes even more interesting when you look at tournament progression patterns. In WTA 1000 events specifically, Gauff's career record in round of 16 matches is now 11 wins against 4 losses, a 73% success rate that indicates she's learned how to navigate the tricky middle rounds where many young players struggle. The round of 16 is often where physical fatigue starts creeping in, where tactical adjustments become critical, and where experience separates consistent performers from inconsistent ones. Madison Keys, another powerful American baseline player, struggled for years with round of 16 consistency, winning only 58% of her matches at that stage of 1,000 level events during her early 20s. Keys possessed all the weapons, the massive serve, the destructive forehand, but lacked the tactical maturity and emotional control to close out tournaments regularly. Gauff has clearly studied those lessons, showing much better composure and game management at age 20 than Keys did at the same age. Bencic's career trajectory offers a stark contrast and a cautionary tale about the fragility of elite-level tennis careers. At her absolute peak in 2019 and early 2020, Bencic was winning 67% of her matches across all surfaces and had established herself as a legitimate top 5 player. Her game was built on variety rather than power. She hit flat, penetrating ground strokes with exceptional timing, mixed in slice backhands to disrupt rhythm, and possessed one of the best tennis IQs on tour. Against the biggest hitters, she would neutralize their power by taking the ball early and redirecting pace rather than trying to match it. This tactical approach allowed her to defeat players like Serena Williams, Naomi Osaka, and Karolina Pliskova during her peak years, proving that intelligent courtcraft could overcome superior athleticism and power. But the current version of Bencic, returning from an 18-month absence due to pregnancy and childbirth, shows just how much the women's game has evolved even in that relatively short time frame. Her win percentage since returning in summer 2024 has plummeted to 36%, and the eye test confirms what the numbers suggest. She's not physically sharp enough to execute the game style that made her successful. The timing that allowed her to take balls early has deteriorated slightly, meaning she's now catching balls a fraction of a second later, which pushes her further behind the baseline and takes away her primary tactical advantage. Her movement, while not dramatically slower, lacks the explosive first step that allowed her to track down balls in the corners and extend rallies. Most critically, her ability to sustain high-level play for 2 full sets has diminished. She can produce brilliant tennis for stretches of 4 or 5 games, but then lapses in concentration or physical sharpness creep in. The statistical decline is most evident in her serve and return numbers. In 2019, Bencic's first serve percentage averaged 64% across the season, and she won 67% of first serve points. In 2024, those numbers have dropped to 58% and 61% respectively, seemingly modest declines that actually represent huge differences in match competitiveness. Dropping 6 percentage points in first serve points won means that over the course of a 2-set match, where a player serves 60 to 70 first serves, she's losing 3 or 4 additional service points, which translates directly into additional break points, faced and holds of serve that become struggles rather than comfortable routines. Against a player like Gauff, who converts break points at 71% rates and applies relentless return pressure, those marginal declines become insurmountable gaps. The unforced error comparison from this Beijing match tells the complete story of 2 players operating at vastly different levels. Gauff committed 18 unforced errors over 2 sets, which averages out to 9% or roughly 1 error every 1.5 games. For an aggressive baseline player who's actively hunting for winners and attacking second serves, that's an excellent error rate that demonstrates controlled aggression. Bencic, by contrast, made 26 unforced errors, averaging 13% and making mistakes at nearly twice the rate despite playing more conservatively and attempting fewer aggressive shots. The error pattern matters as much as the total. 17 of Bencic's 26 errors came from the forehand side, indicating that Gauff's tactical plan of attacking that wing was forcing breakdowns in Bencic's shot mechanics. When a player is making 2/3 of their errors from one side, it's not random variance. It's evidence of a fundamental weakness being systematically exploited. Gauff's evolution since her US Open title in September 2023 represents one of the more impressive developmental arcs in recent women's tennis history. Prior to that Grand Slam breakthrough, she was known primarily as a defensive player with exceptional speed and court coverage, but questionable offensive weapons. Her forehand was considered a liability, breaking down under pressure and producing errors at critical moments. Her serve, while improving, still lacked consistent power and placement. 13 months later, those weaknesses have transformed into strengths through dedicated technical work and competitive experience. Her forehand, now hit with more topspin and better shoulder rotation, generates 12% more spin rate on average compared to 2023, allowing her to clear the net with more margin while still keeping balls deep. The spin increase also makes her forehand dip more sharply, landing shorter in the court and forcing opponents to hit from lower contact points. The serve evolution might be even more dramatic. In 2023, Gauff's average first serve speed was 106 miles per hour, and she was hitting just 3.2 aces per match on average. In 2024, those numbers have improved to 109 miles per hour average speed and 4.8 aces per match, increases that seem modest but represent significant improvements in serving effectiveness. More importantly, her first serve winning percentage has climbed from 64% in 2023 to 71% in 2024, a 7-point jump that's massive in tennis terms. When you win 71% of first serve points, you're essentially making your service games unbreakable unless you have a truly disastrous game where multiple first serves miss. Against Bencic today, Gauff won 82% of first serve points, a number that surpasses even her improved seasonal average and indicates she's continuing to trend upward. The net approach statistics reveal another dimension of Gauff's expanding game. In 2023, she approached the net an average of 6.4 times per match and won 68% of net points, solid but not elite numbers that showed she was still developing comfort at the net. In 2024, she's approaching 9.1 times per match and winning 76% of net points, increases that demonstrate growing confidence in finishing points at the net and better recognition of when to come forward. Against Bencic, she approached 11 times and won 9 of those points, an 82% success rate that included several spectacular touch volleys and reaction volleys that drew applause from the Beijing crowd. The ability to hurt opponents at the net adds a crucial dimension to Gauff's game because it prevents opponents from sitting on the baseline and grinding. They now have to worry about drop shots and approach shots, creating additional tactical complexity. Hard court surface adaptation has historically been the proving ground for American players, and Gauff's numbers on the surface reflect clear improvement. Her 2023 hard court record was 34 wins and 15 losses, a 69% winning percentage that was respectable but included several frustrating early round losses in tournaments where she was seeded to go deep. In 2024, she's won 42 of 58 hardcourt matches, a 72% winning percentage that continues climbing as the season progresses. More tellingly, her record in 3-set matches on hard courts has improved from 8-7 in 2023 to 12-4 in 2024, indicating better physical conditioning and mental resilience in long matches. The ability to close out 3-setters is often what separates top 5 players from top 20 players. The elite find ways to win when matches get tight and physical, while the merely very good players see their level drop in deciding sets. Breakpoint conversion has been a particular focus of improvement. In 2023, Gauff converted breakpoint opportunities at a 38% rate, which ranked her in the middle of the pack among top 20 players and represented a significant weakness in her game. She was creating plenty of break chances through aggressive returning and consistent baseline play, but failing to capitalize on those opportunities with decisive shot making. Fast forward to 2024, and her breakpoint conversion has jumped to 47%, nearly 10 percentage points higher, and now ranking her in the top 15 on tour. That improvement alone accounts for numerous additional breaks of serve per tournament, which directly translates to more matches won and deeper tournament runs. Against Bencic today, the 71% conversion rate on breakpoints was exceptional even by her improved standards, showing she can elevate that aspect of her game even further when locked in. The tournament progression pattern comparison between Gauff and other young American stars reveals just how rare her consistency has become. Taylor Townsend, another young American with immense talent, has struggled to maintain consistency in 1,000-level events, winning only 52% of her matches at that level and frequently falling in early rounds despite possessing the weapons to trouble anyone. Amanda Anisimova, whose power game once seemed destined for the top 5, has seen her career stall due to mental health challenges and inconsistency, winning just 47% of her 1,000-level matches over the past 2 seasons. Sloane Stephens, who won the US Open in 2017 at age 24, never quite recaptured that form consistently, winning only 61% of her 1,000-level matches in the years following her Grand Slam breakthrough. Gauff, at just 20 years old, is already winning 73% of her round of 16 matches at 1,000 events, a number that exceeds all of those players and suggests she's on a trajectory more similar to the Williams sisters or Chris Evert than to the talented but inconsistent players who briefly break through without sustained excellence. The commercial ecosystem surrounding Coco Gauff has evolved into one of the most valuable portfolios in women's tennis, with her annual endorsement income estimated at over $18 million as of 2024, placing her behind only a handful of players globally in off-court earnings. Her partnership with New Balance, signed in 2022, represents one of the most lucrative apparel deals in women's tennis history, reportedly worth $14 million annually over multiple years. That deal replaced her previous contract with New Balance that was signed when she was just 15 years old, and the renegotiation following her US Open title represented a 400% increase in annual value, reflecting her transformation from promising teenager to Grand Slam champion and global marketing asset. New Balance has leveraged Gauff's visibility aggressively, launching signature shoe lines and apparel collections that have driven measurable business results in key markets. The Asian market penetration for New Balance specifically has shown remarkable growth correlated directly to Gauff's tournament performances in the region. According to retail analytics from Sporting Goods Industry Reports, New Balance tennis footwear sales in the Asia-Pacific region grew 23% year-over-year in the third quarter of 2024, with China representing the fastest-growing market at 31% growth. Company executives have publicly attributed much of that growth to Gauff's visibility in tournaments like Beijing, Tokyo, and Wuhan, where television and streaming broadcasts routinely show close-up shots of her distinctive New Balance shoes during changeovers and celebrations. The signature Coco CG one-shoe model, released in March 2024, has sold over 140,000 units globally, with 38% of those sales coming from Asian markets, despite Asia representing only 22% of New Balance's overall tennis market share. Those numbers demonstrate that Gauff's influence extends beyond just brand visibility. She's driving actual consumer purchasing behavior. Her equipment partnership with Head Rackets adds another dimension to her commercial value. While exact financial terms haven't been disclosed, industry estimates suggest the deal pays Gauff between $2.5 million and $3.5 million annually, placing her among the highest-paid racket endorsers in women's tennis. Head has featured Gauff prominently in global advertising campaigns, including a multi-market campaign that ran during the 2024 Australian Open and generated an estimated 420 million impressions across television, digital, and print media. The company has also developed prototype rackets specifically tailored to Gauff's evolving game, including modifications to the string pattern and weight distribution that allow her to generate more topspin while maintaining control. That level of customization and investment typically only happens with endorsers who drive significant business value, and Head's public comments about Gauff's impact on their women's tennis category suggest she's exceeded their expectations. Beyond apparel and equipment, Gauff's partnership portfolio includes major consumer brands that typically select ambassadors based on broad appeal beyond just sports performance. Her Bose headphones endorsement, signed in early 2023, targets a younger, tech-savvy demographic that aligns with Gauff's social media presence and cultural relevance. Barilla Pasta sponsorship connects her to a global food brand seeking authentic sports partnerships, with Gauff appearing in campaigns that emphasize nutrition and athletic performance. Rolex added Gauff to their roster of tennis ambassadors in late 2023, a particularly prestigious partnership given Rolex's highly selective approach. They typically only partner with Grand Slam champions and players with demonstrated longevity at the sport's highest level. The Rolex deal alone is estimated to be worth $1.5 million annually, and more importantly, it positions Gauff alongside icons like Roger Federer and Rod Laver in the brand's tennis portfolio. The broadcast metrics surrounding Gauff's matches have become increasingly important to tournament organizers and television networks as they negotiate rights deals and plan coverage schedules. Tennis Channel data shows that matches featuring Gauff average 437,000 viewers during primetime broadcasts, compared to the network's average of 189,000 viewers for WTA tour-level events without marquee American stars. That's a 131% increase in viewership, which translates directly into higher advertising rates and more valuable inventory for the network. During the Beijing tournament specifically, Tennis Channel promoted Gauff's round of 16 match as a featured broadcast in the 3 a.m. Eastern Time slot, an ungodly hour for American audiences, and still drew 142,000 viewers, a number that exceeded their typical daytime WTA coverage. That kind of audience loyalty demonstrates Gauff's unique ability to draw viewers regardless of time zones or scheduling inconveniences. ESPN's investment in Gauff coverage has been even more aggressive. The network secured exclusive streaming rights to numerous WTA tournaments and has consistently featured Gauff matches on their main ESPN2 channel rather than relegating them to ESPN Plus streaming or ESPN3 overflow coverage. Her third-round match in Beijing drew 485,000 viewers on ESPN2, making it the third most watched WTA broadcast of the week, behind only 2 WTA finals matches from the previous week. ESPN executives have publicly stated that Gauff's presence in tournaments increases viewership by an average of 40 to 50% compared to similar round matches without her participation, a premium that makes her one of the network's most valuable tennis properties outside of Grand Slam events. The network has even adjusted its coverage strategy to ensure Gauff's matches receive prominent placement, sometimes bumping other sports programming to accommodate her match times. International broadcast numbers tell an equally compelling story. In China, where CCTV5 holds primary broadcast rights for WTA events, Gauff's matches consistently draw between 1.8 million and 2.9 million concurrent viewers, depending on the time slot and opponent. Her round of 16 match against Bencic peaked at 2.4 million concurrent viewers on CCTV5, with regional streaming platforms Tencent Sports and iQIYI adding another combined 2.1 million streams. For context, those are viewership numbers that approach Chinese Grand Slam coverage levels, despite this being only a round of 16 match at a regular tour-level event. The reason for Gauff's particular appeal in China extends beyond just tennis performance. Chinese fans and media have embraced her youth, her social media authenticity, and her willingness to engage with international audiences in ways that feel genuine rather than performative. The attendance patterns at tournaments where Gauff competes have become a measurable economic factor for event organizers. The Beijing National Tennis Center's main stadium holds approximately 15,000 spectators, and Gauff's matches have consistently filled the venue to 87 to 93% capacity throughout the tournament, well above the 67% average capacity for other round of 16 matches. Tournament organizers reported that secondary market ticket prices for Gauff's quarterfinal match are currently ranging from $185 to $480, compared to original face values of $80 to $220, representing an average premium of 120% over face value. By comparison, quarterfinal matches not featuring Gauff or Chinese players are reselling at only 15 to 20% above face value, showing the massive disparity in fan interest and demand. That premium extends to hospitality packages as well. VIP boxes that include catering and premium seating for Gauff's potential semifinal match are selling for $8,500 to $12,000. Prices typically reserved for Grand Slam semifinals. The economic impact extends beyond just ticket sales to broader tourism and hospitality effects. Beijing hotels near the tennis center reported booking increases of 18% during the tournament week compared to the same week in 2023, with multiple hotels citing increased international visitors coming specifically to watch tennis. Local restaurants and businesses near the venue have seen transaction volumes increase by 22% during tournament days featuring high-profile matches, a boost that provides tangible economic benefits to the surrounding community. Tournament sponsors, including China Open's title sponsors, have reported measurable increases in brand awareness and positive sentiment during the event, with post-tournament surveys showing 31% of attendees specifically citing Gauff's presence as a factor in their decision to attend or follow the event. The social media landscape surrounding Gauff provides perhaps the clearest window into her cultural impact and commercial value. Her Instagram following currently sits at 1.34 million followers, with an engagement rate of 3.7% across posts, stories, and reels. That engagement rate is more than double the tour average of 1.6% for WTA players, with similar follower counts indicating that her audience isn't just large, but genuinely invested in her content. Analysis of her follower demographics shows that 64% are under age 30, compared to the WTA's overall social media audience, where only 41% fall into that demographic. She's attracting a younger, more digitally native audience that represents the future of tennis fandom, and brands are acutely aware of that demographic advantage. Her post-match content strategy has become a case study in athlete-driven media. Following the Bencic victory, Gauff posted match highlights and a behind-the-scenes training video within 90 minutes of leaving the court, content that generated 347,000 likes and 4,800 comments in the first 3 hours. By comparison, the official WTA account's post about the same match received 89,000 likes over the same time frame, demonstrating that Gauff's personal channels are often more effective at reaching audiences than institutional accounts. Her TikTok presence extends her reach even further, with 680,000 followers and videos routinely surpassing 1 million views, particularly content that shows her personality beyond just tennis. Warm-ups set to trending music, interactions with other players, glimpses of travel and training routines that humanize the professional tennis lifestyle. The Chinese social media ecosystem, operating on platforms like Weibo and Douyin rather than Instagram and TikTok, shows equally impressive engagement. Gauff's Weibo account has 420,000 followers, and posts about her Beijing performance generated over 12 million impressions within 24 hours of her victory. Hashtags related to Gauff trended in the sports category on Weibo for 7 consecutive hours following her match, an indicator of genuine cultural resonance rather than just sport-specific interest. Chinese brands have taken notice. There's speculation in industry publications that Gauff may sign her first China-specific endorsement deal before the end of 2024, potentially with a technology or lifestyle brand seeking to reach younger Chinese consumers through sports partnerships. The prize money trajectory provides concrete numbers about Gauff's value creation through performance. Her season earnings of $5.34 million through the Beijing quarterfinals place her 4th on the 2024 prize money list, behind only Aryna Sabalenka, $8.7 million, Iga Swiatek, $7.9 million, and Elena Rybakina, $5.8 million. For context, Gauff earned $3.1 million in total prize money in 2023, meaning she's already increased her annual earnings by 72% despite playing fewer tournaments than the previous year. The efficiency of her earnings, averaging $94,000 per tournament entered, ranks second on tour behind only Sabalenka, demonstrating that she's not just accumulating prize money through volume, but through deep runs and titles at the sport's most valuable events. If she were to win Beijing, the $747,565 winner's check would push her past $6 million for the season, a milestone only 5 women have reached in a single season over the past decade. The WTA's strategic growth in China has made players like Gauff even more valuable to the tour's long-term business model. The WTA has announced plans to expand its calendar presence in Asia from 6 tournaments in 2023 to 8 or 9 tournaments by 2026, with China hosting a majority of those new events. Total prize money distributed across Asian WTA tournaments has grown from $18 million in 2019 to over $32 million in 2024, a 78% increase that reflects both existing events expanding their prize pools and new tournaments entering the calendar. Players who can drive attendance and viewership in Asian markets become exponentially more valuable in this context. And Gauff's consistent strong performances in Beijing, Tokyo, and other Asian venues position her as a centerpiece of the tour's growth strategy in the region. Broadcast rights deals in Asia have escalated dramatically as tennis viewership has grown, with multi-year agreements now valued in the hundreds of millions of dollars. The WTA's current deal with Chinese broadcasters is reportedly worth $120 million over 5 years, with escalator clauses that increase payments if viewership thresholds are exceeded. When matches featuring popular players like Gauff consistently exceed those viewership thresholds, it strengthens the WTA's negotiating position for future rights renewals and creates additional revenue that flows back to players through increased prize money pools. The commercial ecosystem is interconnected. Strong player brands drive viewership, viewership drives broadcast rights values, broadcast revenues fund prize money increases, and prize money attracts and retains elite athletes who strengthen player brands. Gauff sits at the center of this virtuous cycle, benefiting from it while simultaneously helping to sustain it. The quarterfinal landscape in Beijing presents Gauff with fascinating tactical challenges depending on which opponent emerges from the remaining round of 16 matches. If Maria Sakkari advances, Gauff would face a player she's already beaten 3 times in 5 career meetings, most recently at Indian Wells in March 2024, where she prevailed 6-4, 6-7, 6-2 in a physically grueling encounter that lasted 2 hours and 41 minutes. Sakkari's game style presents a mirror image challenge. Another powerful baseline player who hits with heavy topspin, serves aggressively, and thrives in extended rallies where fitness becomes a decisive factor. The head-to-head history suggests Gauff has solved the Sakkari puzzle to some extent, understanding that patience is required against a player who rarely beats herself, but also rarely produces the spectacular winners needed to dominate elite opponents. In that Indian Wells battle, Gauff won by simply outlasting Sakkari physically and mentally, maintaining her level deep into the 3rd set while the Greek player's intensity flagged. The alternative quarterfinal opponent, Barbara Krejcikova, would require a completely different tactical approach and represents perhaps a more dangerous challenge despite currently being ranked lower than Sakkari. Krejcikova won the French Open in 2021 and has demonstrated the ability to rise to the occasion in major events, with a game built on variety, touch, and tactical sophistication rather than pure power. She slices frequently on both wings, changes pace constantly, incorporates drop shots and lobs into rally patterns, and possesses arguably the best volleys among current baseline players. Against Krejcikova, Gauff couldn't simply rely on outgrinding her opponent. She would need to be the aggressor, taking balls early and not allowing Krejcikova to establish rhythm with her pace-changing patterns. The head-to-head between them is limited, with only one previous meeting back in 2021 where Krejcikova won in straight sets, though Gauff was just 17 at the time and playing considerably different tennis than she does now. The mathematics of WTA Finals qualification add urgency to every remaining match in Beijing. With Gauff currently sitting at 5,083 points in the race to the finals and holding 4th position, a semi-final appearance would add 215 points to push her to 5,298, while a finals appearance would bring her to 5,473, and a title would vault her to 5,833. Those numbers matter because the cutoff for the 8 finals qualifiers typically falls around 4,200 to 4,500 points, meaning Gauff has essentially secured her spot barring a catastrophic collapse over the remaining 6 weeks. But the real target is finishing in the top 3 of the race, which would guarantee a more favorable round-robin group at the finals and potentially an easier path to the semi-finals. Jasmine Paolini currently holds 3rd place with 5,370 points, just 287 points ahead of Gauff. A Beijing title would allow Gauff to leapfrog Paolini and claim 3rd, fundamentally altering the finals dynamics. Beyond Beijing, the remaining calendar presents both opportunities and strategic decisions. The Wuhan Open, a WTA 1000 event beginning just 8 days after Beijing concludes, offers another 1,000 ranking points and over $3 million in total prize money. Gauff has committed to playing Wuhan, a decision that reflects confidence in her physical conditioning and desire to maximize her remaining opportunities on Asian hard courts. Tokyo's 500-level event the week before Wuhan presented a scheduling choice, and Gauff opted to skip it in favor of additional rest and preparation time between the 2 1,000-level events. That decision demonstrates increasingly sophisticated tournament planning, recognizing that playing 3 consecutive weeks in Asia, with the travel and time zone adjustments involved, could lead to physical breakdown or mental fatigue that undermines performance at the events that matter most. The year-end ranking implications extend far beyond just bragging rights and create tangible competitive advantages for the 2025 season. Currently ranked 3rd in the world with 6,743 points, Gauff trails second-ranked Aryna Sabalenka by just 412 points. With Sabalenka not playing in Beijing, Gauff has an opportunity to narrow that gap significantly or potentially even overtake her if results in Beijing and Wuhan go favorably. The world number 2 ranking heading into the 2025 season would mean preferential seeding at the Australian Open, where Gauff would be placed in the opposite half of the draw from world number 1 Iga Swiatek. That could mean avoiding Swiatek until a potential final rather than facing her in the semifinals, a massive advantage given that Swiatek holds a 11-1 career record against Gauff. Draw positioning at Grand Slams is often the difference between a semi-final exit and a title run, and the year-end ranking determines those seeding positions. The 2025 Australian Open specifically represents a crucial opportunity for Gauff to cement her status as a multi-slam champion. Her game style is ideally suited to Melbourne's fast, hard courts, where her movement and court coverage neutralize many opponents' power advantages, and her improved serve becomes even more effective on the quick surface. Historically, American players have excelled at the Australian Open. Serena Williams won 7 times, Chris Evert twice, and Martina Navratilova 3 times during their careers. The time zone and travel challenges that affect European players coming to Australia actually favor Americans based on the West Coast, where Gauff trains, making the physical adjustment somewhat less dramatic. If Gauff can arrive in Melbourne seeded 2nd or 3rd, playing with confidence built from a strong autumn in Asia, avoiding Swiatek until the final, she would have a realistic path to winning the tournament. Long-term legacy considerations are already entering the conversation around Gauff, despite her youth. The history of multiple Grand Slam champions in the Open era shows that players typically follow one of 2 trajectories: early explosion followed by gradual decline, or steady accumulation of major titles throughout their 20s and into their 30s. Maria Sharapova won her first slam at 17, but ultimately captured only 5 majors, peaking early and then battling injuries and inconsistency. Serena Williams, by contrast, won her first major at 17, but continued adding slams well into her 30s, finishing with 23 singles titles through sustained excellence and continual improvement. Gauff's trajectory, with her first slam at 19 and now consolidating her position in the top 3 at age 20, more closely resembles Serena's pattern than Sharapova's, suggesting the potential for sustained success rather than a brief peak. The comparison to Naomi Osaka's career arc provides another instructive case study. Osaka won her first Grand Slam at age 20, 2018 US Open, and her second just 4 months later at the 2019 Australian Open, then added 2 more majors by age 23 to reach 4 total. That rapid accumulation of slams seemed to suggest Osaka was on track to dominate women's tennis for a decade, but mental health challenges and inconsistency outside of the majors meant she never quite sustained that level consistently. Osaka's career winning percentage sits at just 64% despite 4 Grand Slam titles, and she's won only 7 total tour-level titles, a surprisingly low number for a player with her major championship success. Gauff, with a career-winning percentage of 67% and 7 titles already at age 20, appears to be building a broader foundation of consistent excellence rather than relying solely on peaking at majors. Physical conditioning and injury prevention become increasingly critical factors as players enter their 20s and the cumulative stress of professional tennis begins affecting bodies. Gauff has already played 58 matches in 2024 through Beijing, placing her in the top 15 on tour for matches played, but below the 70-plus match totals that sometimes lead to injury breakdowns. The tour average for top 10 players is approximately 62 matches per season, meaning Gauff is slightly below that benchmark with roughly 6 weeks remaining in the season. If she advances deep in Beijing and Wuhan, plus plays the WTA finals and potentially one additional event, she might finish the year around 68 to 72 matches, a sustainable workload that provides extensive competition experience without the excessive volume that causes overuse injuries. Her physical style of play, built on speed, court coverage, and extended rallies rather than overwhelming power, has historically proven sustainable over long careers when properly managed. Serena Williams played well into her late 30s, Chris Evert remained competitive until age 34, and Martina Navratilova won Grand Slams past age 35. All 3 possessed exceptional movement and defensive skills that extended points, much like Gauff does now. By contrast, power players who relied heavily on serve speed and ground stroke velocity often saw their games decline more rapidly as physical explosiveness diminished with age. Venus Williams began struggling with injury issues in her late 20s, Maria Sharapova retired at 32, and Lindsay Davenport's career was shortened by physical breakdowns despite her immense talent. Gauff's game style, emphasizing consistency and movement over pure power, suggests a potentially long career arc if she can avoid major injuries. Strategic tournament selection for the remainder of 2024 will test Gauff's team's decision-making abilities. After Wuhan, the calendar features several 500-level events in Asia, and then transitions back to indoor hard courts in Europe for the final swing before the WTA finals. Gauff must balance the desire to maximize ranking points and prize money against the need to arrive at the finals in peak physical and mental condition. Some players make the mistake of overscheduling in the autumn, chasing every possible point and arriving at the finals exhausted and unable to perform at their highest level. Others underschedule, losing rhythm and match sharpness that cost them in the season's final crucial weeks. Finding the optimal balance requires sophisticated planning that considers not just the current week's tournament, but how each competition affects preparation for subsequent events. The pressure of defending ranking points adds complexity to scheduling decisions. In 2025, Gauff will need to defend her US Open Championship points, plus the points earned from other tournaments throughout 2024. The ranking system's rolling 52-week calculation means that strong performances this autumn not only boost her current ranking, but also set up difficult defenses next year. This is a challenge every successful player faces. The better you perform in one season, the more points you must defend the following year, creating a treadmill effect where maintaining your ranking requires sustained excellence. Players who experience breakthrough seasons often struggle the following year under the weight of defending those points, a phenomenon tennis observers call the sophomore slump. Whether Gauff can avoid that pattern and continue improving in 2025 will significantly impact her career trajectory. Hard court mastery has historically been the foundation for sustained success in modern women's tennis, as 11 of the last 20 WTA year-end number ones achieved that ranking primarily through hard court dominance. The Australian Open and US Open combined offer 4,000 ranking points annually, plus the hard court 1,000 level events in Indian Wells, Miami, Cincinnati, Canada, Beijing, and Wuhan provide another 6,000 points in potential earning opportunities. A player who consistently reaches semifinals and finals at these events essentially locks in a top 5 ranking regardless of clay and grass court results. Gauff's 2024 hard court record of 42-16, 72% winning percentage positions her well, but reaching the next level requires pushing that percentage into the mid to high 70s, which would place her among the truly elite hard court performers in the sport's history. This 75-minute demolition of Belinda Bencic crystallizes everything Gauff has built since her US Open triumph. The numbers tell the story. 72% first serves, 82% first serve points won, 5 breaks without facing a break point, 71% break point conversion. This wasn't competitive. It was a statement performance from a player operating at peak efficiency. The efficiency matters enormously. While other quarterfinalists ground through 2.5-hour battles, Gauff preserved energy for deeper rounds. She leads all remaining players in first serve points won, 78%, and breakpoint conversion, 67%, averaging just 2.6 minutes per service game, the fastest in the tournament. Her technical evolution is measurable. First serve speed up from 106 to 109 miles per hour. Breakpoint conversion jumped from 38% to 47%. Net approaches increased from 6.4 to 9.1 per match. These improvements transformed her from top 10 talent into a top 3 force expecting to beat anyone. With $5.3 million in season earnings, $18 million in endorsements, and Chinese viewership approaching Grand Slam levels, Gauff has transcended tennis to become a global brand. A Beijing title would mark her first 1,000-level win since Cincinnati 2023 and build momentum toward the WTA Finals and Australian Open. Questions for debate. Can Gauff maintain this form and challenge Swiatek and Sabalenka for year-end number 1 in 2025? Does her improved serving translate to Australian Open title favoritism in 4 months?